Hi everybody and welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. This post is from the subreddit Am I the A-hole and it's by user NRG. Am I the a-hole for putting my coworker in the hospital and almost killing her? For the past 3 months, someone at my job has been consistently stealing my food that I bring from home so I don't have to use the snack machine or walk across the street to McDonald's like the majority of my coworkers do. July was the first month I noticed someone had been gradually taking some of my food. 1 out of 3 slices of pizza gone, 20% of my soup gone, Cheetos bag completely gone, etc. Didn't think much of it and simply decided to now attach a "please don't touch" paper sign on my stuff. Then in August, the second month, the start of the month my food became untouched but progressively went back to the usual. Then, in September, the third month, I asked coworkers if they had taken or knew who was taking my food and no one had a clue, which is kinda believable as most of us take our lunches separately. I decided to eat McDonald's or go to the 7-Eleven and stop bringing food, but then it started effing with my financial stability. 10 days paycheck, 14-day paycheck, consistently buying food? Now, October 3rd, I decided to take matters into my own hands. Last week, my friend told me about an Instagram reel that she saw where a girl put laxative into her own food to see who was the culprit, and that's exactly what I did today. What I wasn't expecting was for the girl, late 20s, to have an allergic reaction to an ingredient and ended up going to the hospital. After work, all of us went to visit her in the hospital where we all talked about what happened and admitting to putting laxative into my own food. 6 out of 8 co-workers, all girls, were disgusted by my actions and were on her side. One girl was whatever about it and the last guy said she shouldn't have been touching my food to begin with. I told the girl that I hope she gets better and went home, but I didn't apologize for what I did and I'm not going to. Finally, October 4th, Friday, today, day of, I received a phone call from our supervisor who I spoke to about my issue between and after the first month. She told me she can't help me there because she's not our mom and essentially told me I had to apologize to her or else I wouldn't be able to come back to work until I do. And I'm assuming if I take too many days, I'd just be fired for not coming to work. Well, OP, I have to say, I agree with your coworker that says she shouldn't be touching your food in the first place. And your supervisor kinda sucks because she was stealing from you in the workplace. So if we remove all the legal conundrum that could happen here, no, I don't think you're the a-hole for spiking your food with laxative and she just effed around and found out. And no, I don't think you should have to apologize. And also, it's kinda weird that you can't go to work unless you apologize. That's something I might want to talk to a lawyer about. Now, the part about her having to go to the hospital, you mentioned she got an allergic reaction to one ingredient, not the laxatives themselves. So, if I'm understanding correctly, regardless of whether you put laxative in there or not, she probably would have had the same reaction anyway. So, in this case, are you liable if someone steals your food and ends up in the hospital? Honestly, I don't know, but with how weird the world has gotten lately, I could imagine so. So maybe you want to talk to a lawyer about that too, just in case. And what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments section, and now let's move on to the community comments. Captive Bread Bakery says, in shared refrigerators, I put a label that says, "Caution, contains Miralax laxative. Have I ever used or even bought Miralax? No. Does my food get stolen anymore? Also no." Haunting Nebula 1685 says, do not admit to doing it to catch a food thief. Only admit to putting laxative in your food for your own stomach issues. Otherwise, you could potentially be held liable. SFW Mandy says, she could be allergic to literally anything in food she didn't prepare. She's the one playing with her own livelihood. Turbulent Ab 5669 says, anyone who takes other people's food is an a-hole. Doing so with allergies makes you stupid. And Rhubarbalicious says, all you have to do is tell HR, those laxatives were for my use. I do not like the taste of it, so I mixed it into my food. I warned you that someone was stealing food, but you decided it was a non-issue. Alright, well, I think the community gave OP some really good advice, particularly that first commenter. So now it's time to move on to the updates, but there are plenty. On the first batch, it's 16 updates alone, and then we'll move on to the final update. Update 1. Just received a text from my supervisor telling me the coworker doesn't need to apologize and it's up to her decision if she chooses to apologize or not for stealing my food. Update 2. I'm a male, for those who keep referring to me as she, even though I never mentioned my gender. Lol. Update 3. The male coworker who was on my side told me the girl is going to take legal action for attempting to kill her. He overheard the girls talking today at work. Update 4. Many of you're the a-hole voters, are forgetting the fact that my please do not touch sign never left. Even though it stopped working eventually, I still kept it there. So when she took my laxative food from my plastic bag, the sign please don't touch my food was still on it. Update 5. My supervisor is HR. There's no one else in the HR department. Update 6. It was pretty late last night, 4 a.m., and was talking to family members to see what my options are. Whether I should apologize and stay at my job or leave, but F that, I'm not apologizing. And here's a little more information about my work to give more insight. I work at a senior facility where I work as a medicine technician. My coworkers are nurses, caretakers, and front desk. The girl who stole my food is front desk. We have an absolute no food or drinks rule outside the break room. That's pretty small. We can't use the kitchen to store our food due to fear of cross-contamination. I sorta have a desk to put my stuff, but like I said, there's a rule and the HR supervisor is pretty strict on that. The supervisor called me about an hour ago telling me she's with the girl in the hospital and now's my time to apologize or I can come in person to do it, and I said absolutely not. She kept insisting, but in a tone where I was 100% at fault, not her, who has been stealing my food for 2.5 months straight. Update 7. Have been reading more comments with a lot of questions, so I'll answer them here so everyone can see. She's not poor. She drives a 2020 at least Lexus SUV. LMAO. My supervisor is HR. Our other manager works from home and only comes once or twice a week to meet with the elderly's families. Yes, I could have spoken to him, but knowing him as he's not around much would tell me to reach out to the HR lady as she's in a higher position than him. I live in South California, but not LA. Doctors said the allergic reaction might have been the laxative or my food, which was chicken noodle soup that I made from scratch at home the morning of. They're still running tests. She didn't go to the hospital because she was crapping herself senseless from the laxative. She went because she complained of a huge stomachache and a rash line from below her belly button to between her two rib cages. Finally, shifts between employees and sometimes managers always align for those saying how we could all go to the hospital. You either work 6 a.m. 2 p.m., 2 p.m. to 10 p.m., or 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. Update 8. One of my coworkers is now in the hospital for the same conditions. Big stomachache and rash line down the stomach lining. Doctors are now certain it wasn't the laxative as she didn't eat my soup compared to the first girl. Update 9. Someone from Office HQ is being sent down tomorrow morning to figure out what's going on as our HR has a huge crap stain on her hands. Doctors are running tests for the second girl and trying to figure out why two co-workers are having the same issues. They've, HR, doctors, and male co-worker, now ruled out my soup as the cause of all of this. Update 10. Both girls are now under quarantine and no one is allowed to visit them until the hospital clears that they're not contagious. I'm required to report to work tomorrow for a meeting between myself, HR, some of my co-workers, and the home office rep. Update 11. The home office rep called me to inform me that I'm formally being sued tomorrow by the first girl and her husband, although she's unaware what I'm being sued for. Update 12. I contacted a family lawyer this morning, but he's currently out of town until Monday morning, so I'll be speaking to him soon. I told him the gist of what's happening, including being sued for unknown reasons until I'm served my papers. Both girls are fine, light diarrhea, and the rash seems to be going away after giving them Benadryl, Pepto, and vitamins through an IV. Some people think they're on their deathbeds, although it's quite the opposite, lol. From what my male coworker has told me, I wasn't the only victim of getting their food stolen by this girl. The only difference is, I'm the only one calling her out for it. October 5th, Saturday. Finished my meeting with my supervisors and coworker. The HR lady is now under investigation and has been put under temporary leave. The first girl will be fired by the end of the day, although I'm still being supposedly sued and we're still trying to figure out how they got sick. We're trying to talk to a second girl on what could have happened, but she doesn't want to say anything. Update 14. Not long after my last update, the first girl's husband was sent to the hospital and quarantined for the same symptoms as the other two. The doctors are 90% sure that whatever is causing this is transferable by bodily fluids. It makes sense for the husband to be sick in this case, but we have no idea how the second girl is sick. I think we kinda know. All three are now under quarantine. HR has been fired. First girl has been fired. HR lady is going to sue the company for psychological trauma and distress according to my coworkers. Lol. Update 15. I'm currently at work for the time being and the home office rep is in charge. For those dumb enough to ask and question how we know all this, the doctors are keeping me and the home office rep informed as I'm still considered the starting root cause of all of this. On top of that, the first girl is still gossiping to my coworkers. Do phones not exist now? Lol. Side note, I have yet to be served any papers. I've never been sued before, so I'm not sure how long this takes or if the girl has even started the process. HR only gave me a heads up yesterday that she's going to, not that she already has. Saturday night. Alright, this has been a long 2 days for me. I've been trying to make sense of everything that has happened lately, but now I don't know where to begin, so I'll try my best. As I said earlier, the HR lady was being investigated, and during the investigation they found out she had the same symptoms 3 weeks ago and quietly checked herself into a hospital but is now almost fully recovered. I don't think she quarantined as she hasn't missed work since her last vacation earlier this year. Apart from that, she also confessed to having sexual relationships with both girls in the hospital for the past 2 months and both girls having no idea of the other's sexual relation with HR. The home office rep believes the husband got sick via the wife as he's never stepped foot into the facility and has never met any of his wife's co-workers or supervisor. The HR lady has been arrested for knowingly spreading an infectious disease without the knowledge of the other person. Twice. The hospital will be contacted by the company to inform them of this incident and see what medications or treatment she was given as HR goes to a fancier hospital and what they're dealing with. HR has possibly dropped legal actions unless they were empty threats from the beginning. Monday morning, I'll be talking to my lawyer to sue the wife and the rest of the 6 women for emotional distress and lying, as it seems none of this was my fault to begin with, and I'm still not going to apologize for anything. I've been standing my ground since day one. I think I'll do one more update once everyone is cleared from the hospital and everything is back to normal. It was the HR lady? Man, I really did not see that one coming. I thought maybe the 2 girls and the husband had some sort of a thing going on. But now it's pretty clear why the HR lady was so invested in getting OP to confess to this and apologize. Anyways, we've got that final update, so let's move on with that to see how this story ends. Hi guys, I'm here to give one last update to my previous post that surprisingly blew up. So much so that unfortunately someone that knows me or what's going on at the company that I work for finally saw my post and sent it to home office, resulting in them firing me as California is an at-will employee state. After talking things over with my lawyer and the company themselves, I could have sued them and the girls for all the chaos that transpired and they would have countersued. Basically, their reputation, as I haven't revealed to the employer, versus me being in debt as I don't have the funds to go against an entire company or the time, so I decided to let it go. I was going to start looking for a new job anyways once this crap show literally was over. As for everyone else, both girls and the husband have now been released from the hospital but are advised to stay home. The infection was found out to be viral gastroenteritis, stomach flu, or something very close to it, which would explain the stomach aches, diarrhea, fever, and it being highly contagious, but not the rash and why it took so long for them to get sick. The HR lady was never arrested as I originally assumed, but was questioned and at some point called the wife to tell her that she confessed everything, including that she was seeing the second girl behind her back, but she loved her, the wife, and wanted to be with her. The wife told her it was over and that she's with her husband, as the husband was right next to her at the time of the call. Unfortunately for her, the husband is going forward with the divorce and in the meantime has kicked out the wife from their home. The wife had a huge nervous breakdown, started throwing crap around the house, and admitted to not only having a sexual relationship with HR, but the second girl from the hospital without HR's or anybody's knowledge for the past year. The wife is now staying with a relative an hour away to figure things out and calmed down. The husband, myself, and the male ex-coworker are currently at the husband's house helping clean the mess she made, packing up the wife's belongings and sharing each other's side of the stories, as we might be all sick already anyways. We've been here for the past 10 hours laughing our asses off and drinking margaritas. I showed them my Reddit post as it doesn't matter anymore now that I'm fired. Come to find out, the husband's a pretty chill guy, unlike his crazy soon-to-be ex-wife. He offered me his place to stay for free if I have a hard time finding a decent job and lent me the Lexus SUV his wife was using, as I've been taking Uber for a while after my car broke down a year ago and haven't been able to save up from how expensive Uber is. This is why I was packing my lunches. I'm going to start looking for a new job tomorrow and hopefully put this whole mess past me. This weekend, me and the boys are planning to get drinks and watch some football at our local sports bar if we're all in good health. Thank you to all of those who supported me and rode this wild, bad crap crazy roller coaster with me. Wow, Obi, I'm kinda at a loss for words, so all I'm gonna say is hopefully you don't get sick and that you had a lot of fun getting drinks with your friends. Take care and thanks for sharing. And now let's finish this video with a mood booster post. This post is from the subreddit Malicious Compliance, and it's by user KQ Healy. Tell me to call the emergency doctor for a phone order instead of recharting? Okay. I'm a clinical nurse in physical rehabilitation in Australia. I will never forget a lot of our residents, junior doctors, for being brilliant. But one resident I will never forget because he was awful. One fateful Thursday, I overheard him complaining to the consultant and registrar, "It's boring here, there's nothing to do." I know it's not the most high-energy place to be, and it's definitely not for everyone, but I thought that was a little rude and snide, to say the least. This same doctor, only a day or two later, was asked to rechart a PRN, as needed, pain order for a patient who was having a lot of pain for acute gout. We had already had to contact the emergency department medical registrar, we call them the ED MedReg for short, overnight the night before for a phone order for her pain relief, as there were no spaces left on her last PRN order, and at the time, we did not have a doctor on call overnight at the campus I work at. Instead of recharting the order, the resident, who, remember, was apparently so bored and had so little to do that he complained both the registrar and the consultant about it, instead chose to write a sticky note telling the nurses to just call the ED MedReg for a phone order if she has pain overnight, and stuck it on top of the patient's previous PRN pain relief order. It would have taken him less time to rewrite the order, not to mention as if the ED MedReg doesn't have enough work to do in the literal emergency department. Seeing that note as the night duty nurse on charge and remembering that snide little remark of his made my blood boil. But it was, of course, nighttime and long past the resident's knockoff time. So when the poor patient inevitably had pain overnight, I had no choice but to call. The ED MedReg just so happened to be the same doctor as the night before and rightfully was a little confused and slightly annoyed we were calling for the same phone order 2 nights in a row when surely the treating team should have written a new order during the day. He asked whether we had asked them to do so, and I told him about the sticky note and even read it to him. I remember a beat of silence on the other end of the phone before he said, "Right," before giving me the phone order. I thanked him, apologized for having to disturb him, and went to help my patient. When I came in on the next night, lo and behold, the resident had written up a new PRN order. In fact, we never saw a sticky note like that again, and PRN orders were written in a timely manner. I don't know if that doctor ever got spoken to about his smug little sticky note, but I like to think he got a good talking to. Just because my patients aren't in ICU or ED doesn't make them and their health unimportant. They're still in hospital and deserve proper inpatient health care. Well, I'm guessing his job stopped being boring after that. Thanks so much for sharing, OP. And that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch it. Now, if you've gotten to this point in the video, I assume that you like these stories that I'm reading out, so here are a couple more that you might enjoy. And if you don't have any time to watch another story right now, save it for later, and also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.